Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Today we have a great speaker to talk to us about Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Certification, or DBE, as well as the Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise ACDBE certification. My name is Irma Lopez. I am the Program Coordinator for the Illinois Coronavirus Response and Relief Business Center in partnership with the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council. We work to bring as many resources, information, and available funding opportunities to our minority-owned businesses throughout the state of Illinois. Today we have Victoria Wright, a seasoned and expert in the certification process with the City of Chicago. She comes with a vast and diverse background in all things business development. Without further ado, I'd like to present Victoria Wright, our presenter today, to help us through this certification workshop. Hi, Victoria.
Good morning. Thank you, Irma. Like Irma said, my name is Victoria Wright. I spent 11 years in the Department of Procurement Services in several roles for certification, from marketing to actually completing audits for DBE, ACDBE, which is the federal program, as well as MBE and WBE and VBE, which is the City of Chicago's local program. So today we're going to dive into the DBE and ACDBE program because it does have a few different rules and regs that are different from the local program. Can I go back? Okay. So an overview of the program is that it is a federal program. So where M&W is controlled by the City of Chicago, the City of Chicago makes the rules and regs. The federal program is governed by the Department of Transportation. So they make the rules, we follow the rules. And so today we're going to go over everything that's federally regulated. So we're going to talk about the program objectives, the certification requirements, the benefits of being DBE and ACDBE, and what you do once you are certified. So the City of Chicago is a federal grant recipient subject to the U.S. Department of Transportation and Federal Aviation DBE, ACDBE requirements. So what that means is that the City of Chicago does receive money from the U.S. Department of Transportation to handle this program in Chicago. So once you are certified with us, and I think I talk about this a little further down the line, is that you are pretty much able to do federal work in Illinois and in other states, but I'll talk about that in more detail. The objectives of the DBE ACDE program are to process contracts in the department's highway, transit, airport, and airport concessionaire programs. So if there's a contract that comes out from the highway, transit, basically aviation, the roads, those type of contracts are federally funded. So we have to go through the federal certification process. The process is also to create a level playing field on which eligible businesses can compete fairly for Department of Transportation assisted contract opportunities. So to also give smaller businesses the opportunity to get a piece of the pie. So that larger prime contractors are not the only ones who can win contracts. So we also want to be able to hear from or be able to award contracts to smaller companies. And that's what this federal DBE ACDBE program is set up to do. Here we go. Okay, I'm not advancing, Irma.
Okay, let me try to share mine.
Yeah. I don't know, I'm gonna have to check this before we do another one next week. And nothing on my keyboard is working.
Okay, this
Sorry
is
about
not.
the technical difficulties.
Yes, please hang in there with us, please.
While Irma brings that up, can Leticia, can you tell me what you do? What's your business? Are they muted? Or Veronica?
You could unmute yourself to respond. Okay, let me see.
Go
Where
ahead.
were
You
you?
can go
Where
to
were you?
go down. I mean, no, we didn't get that far yet.
Right
Go
here?
back out. Up. Up. Okay, go down one. Requirements.
Right here?
Down one. Down one. There we go. Requirements. So, who qualifies to be certified? Just like in the NBEACDBE, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Pacific Americans, subcontinent Asian Americans, women, and the difference in DBE and ACDBE is this program will take Native Americans. The local program has a different program for Native Americans and different qualifications for Native Americans. But on the DBE side, you can be Native American and still qualify. And when it says other individuals, if there's a nationality that feels that they've been discriminated against and that they should be included, they would have to go before the City of Chicago's Affirmative Action Board. So you can, you know, the difference is if you were Caucasian or from another country and you felt like you had been discriminated against, you can go before the Affirmative Action Board to find out if you can get the certification. Next slide.
Give me 1 minute. That?
Yes. Wait, you went a little too far. That one, yes. So you have to be a for-profit organization. We have had not-for-profits submit applications and we have to return them because it has to be a company that is for-profit. You have to be a small business, which is at least 51% owned by one or more socially and economically disadvantaged persons. So the person who owns 51% of the company has to have the most control. And so that is a big qualification because if you're 51 and somebody else is 49, as the 51% owner, you should have the most responsibility. You should understand the company. We would hope that you have a background in whichever NAICS codes that you select. So we do look at that. We're looking for people's resumes, their background to find out if they really can perform in the NAICS codes that they request. The management and operations are controlled, which I just talked about, are controlled by one or more of the socially and economically disadvantaged owners. So again, we look at all of the paperwork. I will say that on the DBE, ACDBE side, you don't have to actually already have profits. You don't have to already have made thousands of dollars in your business. You could be a startup. All we would be looking for is that you can do the job, you can do the work. So we on the DBE, ACDBE side, you just have to be able to perform in the NAICS codes that you are requesting. Concessions include businesses, management contracts, goods and services, and advertising. So when people hear that ACDBE, and it's understandable that you might think that you should be a concessionaire. So a concessionaire are the stores and the little booths that are at the airport. But you can also be ACDBE certified if you want to do marketing for a business that's at the airport, or if you want to do accounting for somebody who's at the airport, or if you want to do janitorial services for the store in the airport. And I say that because there's a difference between janitorial services for the airport and janitorial services for a concession. Of course, the airport already have big janitorial companies that they hire, but sometimes a concessionaire might want their own janitorial service. So you can get certified and not actually be a concession in the airport. Of course, yes, if you want to be a concession, if you own the Popeyes and you wanted to have your Popeyes at the airport, or if you owned a taco stand and you said, hey, I want to take my tacos to the airport, then you would be a concessionaire. But if you wanted to assist small businesses that work at the airport, you could also do that. Next slide. Business formations. So you can be any one of these formations: a corporation, a partnership, a LLC, a sole proprietor. But there are documents that you must submit with each one of these business formations. So for a corporation, you have to submit copies of your stock certificates, articles of incorporation, bylaws, meeting minutes, and of course, the Secretary of State license has to be active. A lot of times people might form a corporation, but they don't have bylaws or they don't have meeting minutes. So I would always tell people um, a meeting minute can be you by yourself writing down notes of what you want to accomplish for your business. If you have a partner, excuse me, or if you have employees, then maybe you have a meeting with everyone and you have an agenda to talk about what direction your business is going into. But meeting minutes can be just you taking notes. And we do want to see that to say, what am I planning for my business going forward? Bylaws and articles of incorporation. I have told small businesses that are new, you can Google that information. You can find that information online to know exactly what it is that you need to submit. And we know that you can buy stock certificates from Office Depot, put your name on it, put your percentage of ownership, and those are your stock certificates. But you should be keeping all of this information somewhere that you can find it just in case you have an application that asks for it. An LLC must have an operating agreement. They must have articles of organization, and they too must have the state license active. Believe me, in the office, they do check the state of Illinois website to find out if your license is active. An operating agreement can also be, you can do a Google search to find out what an operating agreement looks like. If it's just you, it could be simple. But if it's a partner, then that operating agreement is going to tell us what are the responsibilities of each owner. And we do read the operating agreements. So you should make sure that you're not just printing what you find on Google and signing your name on it. So don't sign something that you haven't read. If it's an operating agreement, it should be something that you agree to. A partnership must also be in good standing with the state of Illinois and must have an assumed name certification or certificate of limited partnership. A sole proprietor must have an assumed name certificate. You can do that online. And most of the time, a sole proprietor, even though you are the sole proprietor, you might use a different name. Or if you're using your own name, it still should be registered that John Smith is in business to do fix shoes or something. But you have to have that in writing that you are using an assumed name. And they also, I'm sorry, I take this off. There is no state license for a sole proprietor. So the sole proprietorship is basically just you using your name as your business, and that we do accept that business formation for certification. Next slide. Suppliers, distributors, and brokers. A supplier must own, operate, and maintain a store, a warehouse, or other establishment in which materials, supplies, and/or equipment are kept in stock and sold or leased to the public. A distributor And why is a supplier important in DBE and ACDBE? Because you might be selling your supplies to one of the stores at the airport, or you can sell your supplies to the federal government in a contract. A distributor has a direct relationship with a manufacturer to distribute its goods and products within a specific territory or region. Their products are not sold to the general public. And I always use I use the example of a distributor as like someone who sells Avon. An Avon person is a distributor because they have an agreement with Avon to sell their products to a region where they usually live. So they are a distributor of Avon. You can now, either the person you buy your Avon from can get it to you, the product can go to them, or they can ship it to you. But that person selling Avon is considered a distributor. A broker. A broker is a person who buys and sells goods or assets for others. Unlike the local program, DBEs and ACDBEs can be brokers. So in the local program, we do not certify brokers, only in the DBE federal program. And in the local program, they don't certify brokers because they don't consider it a commercially useful function, because basically a person is getting paid to find someone, they buy the product and then they never see the product. So it is allowed in DBE and ACDBE, but it is not allowed in the local program to certify brokers. Next slide. The requirements. All DBE, ACDBE vendors must submit a personal net worth statement. The statement is found in the application. The qualifying owner's personal net worth cannot exceed the amounts noted below for DBE or ACDBE. So in a personal net worth, you do not have to list the value of your home or the value of the business. So a lot of times when people fill out this form, they try to put everything they own in the P&W. And when I teach this class, I try to tell people, we don't need to know if you have a fur coat. We don't need to know if you have a Mercedes, or stuff like that, or if you own a pair of diamond earrings. That's not what we're looking for. And the point of a P&W is that you want to keep your P&W low, because if your P&W is too high, that means you don't qualify for the program. So the P&W for DBE is 1.32 million. And for ACDBE is 56.4 million. Now the ACDBE is much higher because they expect when you go into the airport industry that your income will go high. I want to say that most people who have a concession at the airport make really good money. And all of us should understand that, because how many of us have gone to the airport and had to pay $5 for a bottle of water? And we know that they didn't spend $5 to buy that water. But the prices at the airport are usually triple what we could buy a bag of potato chips if we had bought it on the other side than if we bought it in the airport. So most concessionaires do make a sizable amount of money. So the P&W is much higher for the ACDBE side. Next slide. So business size standard. Effective March 1, 2022, the business size standard for DBEs is now 28.48 million divided by 3 years. That was adjusted from 26.29 million. Now the federal program, it took them quite a while to increase their size standard. On the MBE, WBE side, that size standard changes almost every year. It goes up with, I guess it goes, I don't know, I want to say it goes up because it's giving people the opportunity to make more money. But on the local side, I know the city does a new calculation almost every year, if not every year, every other year. So this is the first time in a very long time that they've changed the size standard on the DBE side. The adjustment does not apply to the airport concession DBE program. It's only on the DBE side. Business size standards vary by industry according to the SBA NAICS codes. So when you are ready to select your NAICS codes, and you can just do a Google search for SBA NAICS codes to find out what code matches your industry. And when you get to that website, it will tell you what the SBA size standard is for your code. And construction codes are usually way higher than a general code, and that's because people in the construction industry make way more money than a person that might have a restaurant. So the SBA size standards for construction codes are much higher. For ACDBE, the firm's 3-year average annual gross receipts are not to exceed the 56.42 million for most firms, with the following exceptions: car rental companies, banks, and automobile dealers. So you really don't find automobile dealers at the airport, but their industry is higher because those are higher paid industries, higher money making industries. Car rentals at the airport, banks at the airport. So all of those industries, they do have a higher SBA size standard. Next slide, please. The certification process. So you can find the DBE and ACDBE application at the same website that you can find the M and W. So I just put the link up, and we are, I'm sure Irma is going to share this PowerPoint at the end so that you have the website to do the actual application. Unlike the local program, DBE and ACDBE is free. And I always recommend that if you're going to do the DBE, go ahead and do ACDBE, because you never know where you're going to find your business. So you can apply for both at the same time, and they're still free. Contact information. I can't stress enough to make sure your contact information is correct. Your email address should stay up to date, your phone number and your address, all that information has to go in. Please keep that up to date. Your business information, that goes back to your formation. Are you a corporation, an LLC? You don't want them to have to guess what type of company formation you have. We need to know what NAICS codes are being requested, and basically what it is that you do and what do you want to be certified in. Location information. So for DBE and ACDBE, you can be located anywhere in Illinois, from north to south, east to west. Long as you're in Illinois, you can be certified DBE and ACDBE, which is totally different from the local program, where there are only 6 counties that you can be in to be MBE, WBE in Chicago. Once you have the DBE and ACDBE in your home state, you can apply in other states. Why is this important? Because if you have a restaurant here and you decide, hey, I want to try to open another restaurant in another airport, you have to be certified in that state, but you must start here in Illinois. So if you get a ACDBE in Illinois, you get your approval letter, then you can fill out an application in any other state as long as you have your letter, and it's a shorter application when you go to that other state, because they're going to see that the city of Chicago has approved you for ACDBE. Therefore, they know that we have gone through all of your documents. So if you're in Illinois and you have a restaurant at the airport in Illinois, and you decide that you want to go to Indiana and put a restaurant in the airport in Indiana, you have to reapply, but you must attach that approval letter from Illinois so that you can also do work in Indiana. So those are sort of like business goals. I want to start in Illinois, but I want to have a restaurant in every airport in every state. And those are career goals. You don't know if it's going to happen, but you have to have those certifications. I've done files where a person has certification in over 12 states. I cannot say that they were actually doing business in all 12 of those states, but they got approved for all 12 states because they got approval in their home home location. So that's an option. You can be certified here and in any other state that you choose. Your employee information. If you're the only employee, that's fine. But if you have employees, we want their W-2s or their 1099s. We might ask for resumes for your other employees. How many employees do you have? We need all of that information. Review of supporting documentation. I'm going to tell you, and I'm not sure if we said this in the beginning. I retired from the city of Chicago in January, and I keep saying we, and that's my habit. But the city of Chicago is reviewing supporting documentation. Please believe that they are looking at all your documents. So that's why I said, don't just go and print out an operating agreement offline and you don't know what it says, because they are reading those documents in the office. So the documents are reviewed, tax returns are reviewed, every line of a tax return is reviewed. So make sure all of that information is correct. There is a mandatory site visit on the DBEACDBE side. So during the pandemic, the city of Chicago went to virtual site visits. So it was a visit like we're doing today, where everything was online and you had to talk to a field analyst online, but they have gone back to doing face-to-face site visits. They want to come out, they want to see your office, they want to see your warehouse. Depending on what your business is, they want to see your restaurant. So there's a mandatory site visit on the federal side. Federal, what you need to submit. Federal, business, and individual tax returns, 3 years for both. If you don't have 3 years, you have to tell us why you don't have 3 years. We would expect everyone to have at least 3 years of individual tax returns. But if your business has only been in business for 1 year, then you have to let the office know why you only have 1 year. Or if you don't have any at all, you can just say, I'm a startup. Business bank statements. Yes, you should have a business bank account. If you are a business that has been set up legally, you should have a business bank account that is set up in the business name. Please do that before you even start the application. Bank signatory cards. Who is allowed to sign checks? Who is allowed to take money out of your account? That comes from the bank directly. We cannot take a sheet of paper that says, I'm the only one who can write a check. That information comes directly from the bank. Resumes, contracts, and or invoices with proof of payment for invoices. Your resume should have a history of your work history as well as education. That is to support that you can work in the field that you are requesting your NAICS codes, as well as contracts or invoices. So we do understand if you don't have contracts yet, or if you don't have any invoices because you're a startup, you need to say that. You have to write it down and say, I don't have any contracts because I'm a new business, but we would still expect a resume. If you have employees, it helps to submit their resumes because it proves that you have people employed who can help you get the job done. So if you don't have contracts or invoices, that's fine. Just let the office know that you're a startup. Required professional licenses. This is very important. If you are an architect, an engineer, an accountant, we expect you to have a license. If you do construction, we expect you to have a GC license. So all of that information must be submitted with the application. A driver's license and a birth certificate or passport. They are both required. If you don't have a driver's license, we expect a state ID. If you don't have a passport, then it's a birth certificate. All of that is required. And like I talked about already, the City of Chicago site visit. Once your application is submitted and you are assigned to a certification officer, the certification officer goes through all the documents and then they set up a site visit. It is up to you to always reply for the site visit. The field analyst will contact you and they will set up the site visit around your schedule, around when you're available. Okay, next slide. Questions? So just to go back with DBE and ACDBE, like I said, you don't have to be up and running yet, but you do have to be established. So that means you should have already formed your company. You should have a business plan. They can ask you for a business plan. If you are a new company, they might ask you for a business plan. Loans, they're looking for loans. That is a big issue. If you have loans that came from somebody who does not qualify for the program, we expect the loan documents to be submitted, and we expect to see that that you're paying that person back. I've had companies who submitted applications and they had a loan to start the company, but they got the loan from a non-minority, and the City of Chicago can see that, excuse me, as that non-minority controlling your business. So they're going to ask you for the loan documents because they want to prove that you are paying that person back and that that person does not have any control of your company. And I'm sorry, I guess I need to add more to this one because the other thing is they're looking for your equity contribution. How did you start the business? Did you use your own savings? Did you use your own money to start the business? And that should be the case, is that the money came from you. It didn't come from somebody outside of the business who might be trying to control you to do work for them because you are a minority or a woman or both. So they do want to know the equity contribution. I always to ask people to send me the first business statement from the business account. It should show money that went into your business bank account. It could be $20, it could be $100, it could be $200. So make sure you have a business bank account where we can say, hey, this was your equity contribution to start the business, is the amount of money that you submitted to start your business bank account. So if we can take the mute off for the participants, I would like to hear if they can tell me what they do, and maybe we can talk a little bit about your industry. And I know, Irma, you usually have some questions, but if they want to tell me what they do, then I can help them along too.
Yeah, I'll give them the opportunity. It's sometimes nicer to have a smaller group where we're better able to answer individual questions. So feel free. Leticia, did you unmute it? Did you want to ask something or make a comment?
Yeah, so I apologize. My connection on this end has been kind of unstable, so I think I got the gist of everything. But we're currently in the process of getting certified as DBEACDBE, and I have some questions about the resume. So my sister is the main person. She's the president of the export company, and we basically export produce. So we're in the process of that technical questions. How long should the resume be? Because my
Leticia, you're breaking up. If you could summarize. Leticia, can you put that in the chat?
Yeah.
You're totally broke up. Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay.
I think I heard her say something about how long should the resume be. But yeah,
Yeah.
if you can type that in, it would help because I know you said a
Okay.
lot after that I couldn't hear. But the
Okay.
resume, if you have a extensive resume, I wouldn't go back more than 10 years, if that should be enough. Now, if you don't need to tell us what you did in high school or that you worked at McDonald's, we don't need to know that. The most important part is what work did you do that connects to what you're trying to be certified in. So I think even professionally, they say, try to keep your resume at 2 pages, unless you're a doctor or architect that has a lot of information that you put in your resume about your work. Or I built a building in New York, and I built a building in Spain. And then they do try to put all of that information into the system. But a resume, I would say no more than like a 10-year background.
I also, when we work on a certification, I tell them, much like you would tailor your resume for a different type of company or organization, you're doing this resume to help support your ability to provide the goods and services of your business. So
Right.
like Victoria said, make it as relevant to what you are doing here for certification purposes. And then my comments are.
Wait a minute. I couldn't. It sounded like she said something after that, and so I just want to know: did I answer the question?
I think I heard something like cover letter. So Leticia, please submit your question. She may be typing it up. So we'll give her a few seconds.
You don't need a cover letter.
One thing that always tripped me up when I worked for the state, and that's another thing I didn't disclose. I worked for the state as well, and that's how I met Victoria. We collaborated frequently together, so we have some extensive certification background, but Victoria was there much longer, and she was more at a senior level. So I always deferred to her for many of my certification questions. One thing that always tripped me up was this. You mentioned the supplier and your inventory. I oftentimes heard the term drop ship. So it became very confusing to me to explain, because if I am selling something, am I expected to have complete control of the inventory? So if I am an Avon representative, I have no control over inventory. I am submitting an order, and I am basically the pass-through to provide that product to my client. So is that the difference between WMBE and your DBE? The DBE would allow you to be an Avon representative?
So the difference is, as a distributor, you have an agreement with Avon, and we want to see that agreement. And that is just the example. But say something that really became big during the pandemic is people supplying face masks. We had so many applications for people selling the face masks, but we had to know that they had inventory of those masks. And that's important because say they got a contract to work for the city of Chicago and sell the city of Chicago the masks. We want to know that those masks are in a warehouse, that if we ordered 1,000 of them, you can pull them out of your inventory. If you're a distributor, a broker, you might have to wait to get those masks because you might be buying them from China and you never see them. So that means you don't know if the quality of those masks is any good. You don't know how long it's going to take to get from China to Chicago. So that's why it's a difference between a broker and a distributor. And I have even a better example is right before I left, I had a file for a gentleman who sold marketing materials. So like pens with your company name on it, shirts, all those gadgets we used to give out at the events. So he sold those things, but he never saw them. He would have book after book after book. And back in the day, we just look through a book and say, hey, I want this shirt. hey, I want that pen. Of course, now it's online, but he would be able to get a discount for you, but he never saw the items. So he could not get certified on the MBE side. So we had to express to him that he should certify on the DBE side, because it's allowed on the DBE side, where the city of Chicago will not certify because you never put your hands on those items. So
And that's
sort of-
something that, you know, that I had to wrap my head around, is that first and foremost, it's a lot has to do with the certification over control of your business. So it's that, and the franchises. I know franchises aren't excluded, but then it depends on the individual contract that you have with the franchisor.
Definitely.
Whatever the
And
case
we
may
do,
be.
and if you're a franchise, you can get certified. We have some franchises that are certified, but they want to see the contract. What's in that franchise agreement that, you know, and usually most franchise agreements are straightforward, but the city is going to ask for that agreement.
That's very important. And what I like to also kind of summarize about certification is, you're not only getting certified as a woman or minority owned business or disadvantaged business. As Victoria listed all those items, they want to make sure that you, again, are in control of day-to-day functions, that you have full knowledge of the goods and services that you are providing, and that you have teeth in the game. So who invested in your business? How did you open it? You can't come to us and say, well, my husband inherited the majority of his plumbing business to me, but yet when they go through your application, this is where your resume comes in. If you've told me that up until January you were a housewife, how are you going to support the ability to control a plumbing service, know the quality of the services you're providing, or just know the industry in general? You most likely you don't have a plumbing license or an apprenticeship or past performance as the owner of the company. Your husband or your inheritor could provide, you know, decades of information, but that doesn't apply to you. It's you, the owner, that's going to speak for these services as a certified vendor. Veronica, do you have any questions?
Sure, this was great. I was given this information because I'm basically like a startup. I'm certified with my MBE, WOSB, and WBE. My business is basically like a consultation as well as a dispatch. I help small businesses, agricultural businesses, apply for federal funding with their agricultural businesses, so they can go to different trade shows and export their goods all over the world. And I was given this information because I've been helping a lot of companies, and I was looking to branch out to do it in other states. And I have been helping people, but I wanted to make sure that I was actually, certified, so I can get a little bit more information as well as contracts, because I'm definitely on sam.gov for the contracts. And this information definitely has been truly, truly helpful to help me branch out, because I do dispatching as well as the contracts. And I've been working with another company that's doing resin and plastic manufacturing. And I'm the only employee for this. This is my business, so this is that. But this definitely helps because this company is in Wisconsin, and I'm looking to branch out that way. So if I can get certified here and then branch out there, it'll definitely help. Definitely help. So this has been awesome.
And whatever it is you're doing sounds really unique. So you could, blow up, because I've been doing certifications for 11 years, and I had never heard of that. The way you described it, I don't know which NAICS codes you already have. Is it administrative management or business management?
Yes.
Or business? Okay. Yeah, because that is a very what you described, and I probably still don't know what you do, but but how you described it sounds really unique.
And
it's like you have a niche.
Veronica, I right away when you started talking about trying to export, are you in any way connected with the Illinois Trade Office?
No, not connected to them directly, but we do work with some of the offices, the trade legal offices in different countries when the people go over there to do like trade shows or meet with foreign buyers. We do work with them directly. So,
I submitted my email address both for you and Leticia. I encourage you to email me so I can provide more information. Veronica, the state of Illinois focuses on exporting goods and services. So you may have an opportunity to get a trade mission, be a participant of a trade mission and have that cost subsidized, or I think they pay up to 75% of your travel.
yeah,
So
I work with
that's
that too. Yeah, I sent you an email already. It's already on
perfect.
the way.
And then you
with that,
mentioned being W and MBE certified. Who are you currently certified under?
VW Management, that's my business name, but I did the MBE through, the Chicago National Minority, and then I'm certified through SAM.gov. I did all of that through the SAM website to get
Okay.
all of that certified.
I really want to talk to you because you could leverage that certification with the city of Chicago and get almost automatically certified with the state of Illinois. And considering you went through all this, even if you don't do business with the government, this is an incredible credential to have. You have this credential, you start marketing yourself as a certified vendor. They see that you've been vetted by a government entity. The city of Chicago and the state of Illinois are highly respected as such. And you should consider, I'll work with you because it's just a 3-document submission that you get to submit to the state.
Okay.
You may have.
Irma, make sure you explain that she sounds like she is not certified with the city. She's certified already with CMSDC, but she would have to do another application to get the city of Chicago. It's a shorter application, and she would have to pay the $250 to be certified as a MOW with the city of Chicago. But like you were saying, if she's already certified CMSDC, she could go to the state and it'd be a lot faster. Is there a fee for the state?
No, and I'm glad I misunderstood. I thought she said she's with the city of Chicago. So the state of Illinois also recognizes the CMSDC certification, and now they're calling it a fast track. Whereas before it was called recognition. Now with the CMSDC, there's about 5 entities certifications that they recognize. It's a much shorter, even better than recognition, because you're just submitting proof of your certification with these recognized entities.
Okay.
You're submitting, you're self-reporting some finances. So it's not even submitting tax returns. And the affidavit that you get notarized and you sign to submit for the application. And it's very similar to CMSDC. I think across the line, most Illinois certifying entities use the same platform. I think it's B2G now, but I can't speak for CMSDC. However, I'm excited to speak to you as well as Leticia to see how we could further leverage what you already have done.
Oh, perfect. That will definitely work for me. I'm just really a startup now. I haven't really done as much, but I do have the bank accounts and everything to make sure that's, on the up and up, because everything I want to make sure is legal across the board. I don't want to do anything that's not legal or it's, been certified or has been approved. So when I got this information to attend this webinar here, I definitely want to jump on it immediately and to see, what else that I can get under my belt to actually help launch my business even more.
I like to hear when small startups start this process early, because Victoria can attest to that. If you're coming in 20, 30 years, 10, 15 years after you started, it could be very hard to collect the documentation that they're asking you for. Many businesses don't make it a practice to keep these documents. However, not only certification, you're starting to see grant applications. When you're trying to approach a lending institute, they're asking you for these documents. When it comes to those business structures that Victoria mentioned, keep in mind that that's also supporting the protection that you selected for your business. We like to see LLCs and incorporated businesses because they appear better established, I believe. You're registered with the Secretary of State's office, but those documents also help support that protection to separate your personal from your business assets. So that's very, very important.
Okay,
So
definitely.
Going forward, you have had some practice in all this that they're asking you in terms of certification documents. Make it a practice to keep them current, update, renew, whatever it is that with enough time. oftentimes we have had vendors that have been certified for years and they let it fall off because they didn't have any opportunities. However, lo and behold, you got an opportunity that has a 6-week, deadline. There's no guarantee that the city, the state, the CMSDC is going to certify you and make you current by that date. And most bids need you to be currently certified when you submit that bid. So when your deadlines or your what do you call those? Your renewals are up. Don't wait for the night of. The fact that you submitted it before midnight, the night before, does not guarantee, and it almost never is going to get renewed by the day after.
Oh, definitely, because I make sure I started my business back right when the pandemic hit. So everything just fell through because of the trade shows closing and no one
Please.
to do that. So I definitely make sure each year that I renewed with the state to get my articles of agreement and the certified information together, as well as keeping my my MSSBC actually updated as well. And it's actually kind of for renewal in August. And I got the email, I think earlier this month, to say it's time to renew. So I'm definitely getting that done as well. I want to make sure everything is just up to date. So I won't, like you said, wait until the last hour to try and update any information.
And then, you have invested in getting this certification. Make everyone accountable, whether
Mhm.
it's the CMSCC, the state, or the city. If you're not getting opportunities, reach out to them and saying, I invested so much of my small business, capital, whatever it is, where are my contracts and where are the partnerships that are promised when you're coming into the certification? And I say that for every entity. When I was with the state of Illinois, the BEP Council represented, oversaw some aspects of the program. And this is where vendors would come in and call us out on the lack of opportunities, the lack of follow through, whether it was a prime not working well with them, compliance issues. This is something that everyone has to be in some way very accountable and transparent on the processes and benefits. Because you for the CMSDC, it's a pretty considerable investment for a small business.
Yes.
Irma, I just want to correct you on one thing. No contracts are promised. We tell people that all the time. Just because you get certified, you have to do your homework. You have to check websites. You have to check the bid process. We just did a workshop on Wednesday regarding the procurement processes. You have to keep up with all of that information. It helps if you have somebody who could, do that for you. But if you don't have someone who can do that for you, maybe you put one day aside of the week where you're searching for contracts or you're learning the procurement process. If you're going to do business with the city, if you're going to do business with the county or the state or CTA or CPS or Chicago Park District, you have to know those procurement processes. Certification does not guarantee a contract, because if you submit a bid that has bad calculations, that's on you. It's not on the city, because you didn't dot all your I's and cross all your T's. These are things that we expect. But the good thing is that you do have agencies like CMSDC and Women Business Development Center and other assist agencies that are willing to help you get through the processes, and I'm not sure if you two ladies know about assist agencies. I'm assuming you know about CMSDC because you're on this call, but there are agencies that are willing to help you through the process. And you should always reach out for help if you need it. It's no reason that a small business should fold because they didn't have help. Because you have people like Irma, and you have people who do these workshops. And like I said, the no contract is promised. There are contracts out there, but you have to do your due diligence to win a contract.
Thank you, Victoria. I really appreciate you clarifying that. Sometimes I get caught up in my my little my spiel.
I know,
but yes,
I get it.
you have to.
Was Leticia able to type anything? I hate that we're not really giving, she hasn't had any, I don't know if she had questions. Was she able to type anything in?
No. So yeah, just to clarify. Okay, Leticia.
Can you
Yeah,
hear
I'm
us?
sorry. Yeah, I hope you can hear me. So you had mentioned something that I was kind of curious about. So let's just say you get certified in the state of Illinois and you want to get certified in other states. Is there a website like a federal website where you can go and like say I want to just check off the states that you want to get certified versus going and doing it individually? Like say I want to get certified in Texas, Indiana, I don't know. Is there like a federal website where you can do that all at once?
If
No.
we're still talking about DBE, no. So
Okay.
if you get DBE here, you want to do Indiana, you have to find their link. And it should be pretty easy because you would just put
Okay.
in Indiana DBE ACDBE or Texas DBE ACDBE. There's not just one site to do all of that in. So yeah, you would have to find it in each state.
Okay.
But the biggest thing to know is that you have to have that approval letter
Okay.
before they will even take your application.
Leticia, and also if that's on the federal level, that you also got your 8A or your the WOSB program. However, if you want to get certified by each individual state as a woman or minority-owned business, luckily, because the state of Illinois accepts and certification from all states. So I'm sorry, I'm talking backwards. The state of Illinois will certify a business in any U.S. state. So because of that, many states allow Illinois companies to certify in their states. If we had been very limited and said we will only certify Illinois companies, other states will say then Illinois companies can't come to certify here, is my understanding. So unfortunately, there is no universal certification. That would be so nice, but that's not the case. And it's basically very much two reasons. One, everyone has a different size limit. And two, there may be cost involved. The CMSDC charges, City of Chicago, federal doesn't charge, and neither does the state of Illinois. Victoria, is there a cost for DBE, ACDBE
No,
with the City of Chicago?
no.
So yeah, that's something you have to do your research individually. Again, research, like Victoria said, certification does not guarantee you anything. And if anything, after doing all that work, it's just the beginning. Now it's a matter of going to see who buys what you sell, registering with different procurement bulletins with the city, the state, the county, everywhere. And don't forget your corporate. Many corporate companies are now offering supplier diversity programs. So look up any corporate business that you can think of, whether it's related to what you do or not. Look it up, look up their supplier diversity program and register for it. More and more, they're starting to ask for certification from certain entities, but still some are still just asking for you to register and self-certify as a woman or minority-owned entity.
And just to piggyback, and I know we've gotten to the hour.
One
In
of those cojones.
Chicago, you can get DBE certified in the City of Chicago, Metro, and CHA. All three of those agencies do DBE certification, but the City of Chicago is the only one that does both DBE and ACDBE. So I do believe there was conversation about having CTA and Metro do the ACDBE, but I don't think they've jumped on board yet. So they only do DBE. So I'm only telling you that, like, if you don't want to go through the City of Chicago, you can also go through CTA and you can go through Metro to do the applications for DBE.
And I believe IDOT, if I'm not mistaken, IDOT
Yes.
also do
Yes.
makes them.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
last but not least, continue doing what you're doing today, coming to these workshops. What are the
Right.
chances of you speaking to someone directly like Victoria to ask specific questions? Take advantage of these opportunities, whether it's with us or other agencies. This is where you're going to have direct contact with people, decision makers, people with the expertise. You might be able to capture their contact information. So, there's nothing worse than getting an info at email, because you don't know who's, taking care of that box, if you're going to get a response or not. So it's a lot of time and effort involved in the success of your business, but you obviously have the passion to have gone out on your own and do this. So we commend you for that, and we encourage you to continue looking at different resources available during these workshops, and to tap on us to help out, because that's what we're here for. Victoria is currently retired, so she has shared her contact information. I have shared my information. Do not hesitate to reach out. If there's something that I could forward to Victoria, I'd be happy to do so as well. If no one else has any questions or comments, I'd like to close this out for today. Everybody okay?
Everybody have a great weekend.
You do the same. This was great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Ladies,
you.
we continue to
Have a
wish
good
you.
And just to
weekend.
let them know, Irma, we're doing how to utilize your certification next Wednesday.
Oh yeah, I
Stay
think I
tuned.
signed up for that one
Stay
too.
tuned for next Wednesday. Come back to us.
Definitely. Thank you guys.
Send me an email so that I could, sure.
Yeah.
Send me an email and I'll respond with a copy of this presentation today.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a great weekend, and
Bye.
thank you for joining us today.
Okay, where's the email? Bye. Thank you.
Bye. It's ilopez@chicagomsdc.org. I just sent it in chat if you want to copy and paste it.
Thank you. Have
You
a
have
great
it?
weekend.
You're welcome, Leticia.
Yeah, I got it.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Irma, you owe me a lunch, but I owe